Hello students, I welcome you all in our course ABM5 Applied Economics. Once again, this is your instructor Jason Bicano. And in this particular online discussion, I will be talking about the lesson 1 entitled Business Environment. So the lesson 1, which is the business environment, it includes all internal and external factors that affect the economy's performance and functions. So it means that any businesses is affected or can be affected by this business environment, which I also already discussed in the previous semester about the subject or course macro perspective of tourism and hospitality. So it's important that we need to discuss about the business environment because um, when you graduate and you have this position as a manager, this business environment can affect or can be affected the business that you have managed. So we need to study and learn anything about the business environment. So what are those business environment? It includes employees, customers, management, supply and demand, business regulations, and competitions. Okay, so before we will start our formal discussion, we will have a pre-test first. Okay, so this test is not recorded, so it is just to identify your prior knowledge with regards to this topic. So question number 1, it is a process of identifying the internal and external elements that affect the organization's performance. A. Business analysis. B. Business environment. C. Environmental analysis. Or letter D. Environmental scanning. So I give you 5 seconds to answer this first question. Okay, so the answer for question number 1 is letter D, environmental scanning. Okay, please take note of your points. Okay, so we will proceed to number 2. It includes all internal and external factors that affect the performance of the company. A. Environmental analysis. B. Environmental scanning. C. Business analysis. Or letter D. Business environment. So the answer for number 2 is letter D, business environment. Let's proceed to number 3. These factors are controllable by the management. A. Microenvironment. B. Macro environment. C. Internal environment. Or letter D. External environment. So the answer for number 3 is letter C. Internal environment. Let's proceed to number 4. These factors are beyond the control of the management, however, have a great impact on the performance, decision-making, and strategy of the business. A. External environment. B. Internal environment. C. Macro environment. Or letter D. Micro environment. The answer for number 4 is letter A. External environment. Let's proceed to number 5, the last question for the pre-test. It is a strategic tool to identify the external and internal environment. A. Environmental analysis. B. Environmental scanning. C. Business analysis. Or letter D. Business environment. So the answer for number 5 is letter A. environmental analysis. So please count your score. So I congratulate those students who have this perfect score for the pretest for lesson 1. So now let's proceed to the proper lesson or discussion. So what is the business environment? So the business environment includes all internal and external factors that affect the company's performance and functions. So again, the business environment, which we also discussed in the previous semester, that this environment can affect or can be affected by the business. So there are there are also external factors. So what are those business environment? It includes employees, customers, management, supply and demand, business regulations, and competitions. So every business organization has an internal environment and also external environment. So for the organization to be successful, it is important to study its environment regularly. So again, when you graduate and you manage any business or hotel or resorts, you need to study the internal environment and also the external environment. So if the manager failed to study the internal and external environment, there's a big possibility that the business that he or she handled will have or will encounter some problems. So it's important that as a manager, you need to study the internal and external environment. So this is to assess any developments and understand factors that can contribute to its success. Okay? So the success is not happened by chance. Success was made. So it's important as a manager again to study the internal and external environment or factors. If you will not study, you will not be successful or you cannot succeed on managing a company or business. So now let's proceed to one of the important terms for this lesson, which is the environmental scanning. So what is the environmental scanning? It is a process used by organizations to monitor their external and internal environments. So this is also what the manager were going to do to determine the internal and external factors that affects their business. So what is the purpose of environmental scanning? Since this is an action word, scanning. Purpose of the scan is to identify the opportunities and threats affecting the business. So you need to study the internal and external environment and you can determine also the possible opportunities and the threats, the positive side and the negative side after you scan the environment, both internal and external. So as a part of the environmental scanning process, the organization collects the information regarding its environment and analyze the impact of changes in the market. Again, one of the duty of the manager is to study. How to study? You need to collect the informations and data from the internal and external environment. After you have collected all the informations and data from the internal and external environment, you need to analyze the data so that you will have these possible changes or improvement of your business. Okay, so you have the baseline when you have a decision or you need to have when you have some you need to do some changes of the business process, for example, or any area of your business. So you're not just deciding something without any baseline. So it's important that we need to have environmental scanning. Okay, as you seen here in the picture that this guy are using this telescope to scan or to identify or collecting information and data so that when he decide some, for example, verification or changes on the business that they handled, he has a baseline and he need some concrete information in order to have a decision that can, leads him to the success of his business. And again, the importance of having this environmental scanning is in order to identify the opportunities and threats. Now, one of the important terms also is the environmental analysis. So this environmental analysis is a strategic tool in assessing the level of threats and opportunities that might affect the business. This eventually helps the management team to make better decisions. Okay, again, recap or review. Our topic is about the business environment. There are two business environment, the internal and external. So after we identify the internal and external, we need to conduct environmental scanning to identify the opportunities and threats. So we will gather informations, data, and we need to, after that, we need to analyze the identified opportunities and threats. So after we analyze, we can produce a, for example, a possible decisions that is beneficial for our business. So after we analyze the informations and data that we gathered from doing environmental scanning, we can have this strategic tool. So important as a manager that we will have some variations or changes or modifications of our business process. Okay. If we fail to make some modification and changes, there's a big possibility that our business will not succeed late in many years. Okay, so it's important that we need to study the internal external environment. We will conduct environmental scanning to identify opportunities and threats, and after we identify the opportunities and threats, we need to analyze the data that we collected, and we need to analyze, we need to analyze the data and the information so that we will have this output, and it is called a strategic tool that we need to use this in order to succeed in our business. I hope that it is clear. Now we have a guide here in order to fully understand the internal and external environment. Okay, so for example, this is the business environment. There are two parts here. We have internal environment and external environment. So these are the parts of the internal environment. We have value system, mission and objectives, organizational structure, corporate culture, quality of human resources, labor unions, physical resources, and technological capabilities. So this is part of the internal environment. So as a manager, we need also to study all of this. This is part of our company because we have this value system, missions and objectives, organizational structures, so on and so forth. And on the other hand, we also have this in external environment. And under the external environment, we have also two parts here. We have micro environment and we also have the macro environment. Okay, from the word external, it is outside of our business. So part of the micro environment is the organization, customers, competitors, market, suppliers, and intermediaries. Okay, from the word micro, it is small. This part with the also can consider it as part of the inside, or can it is a manageable. And on the other hand, we have this macro environment. This is a can say this is a big picture in the business field. We have this economic, political or legal, technological, global, sociocultural, and demographic. We cannot able to handle this. Okay, we have no direct contact or direct power to change these things. Okay, Now let's proceed to the before we will proceed to the next slide, I will explain further about the internal environment. Again, this internal environment of the organization consists of the factors that are controllable by the management. Okay, so we are part in the business, and there are parts like internal environment, and it is controllable. We can able to control this one. We can easily change the missions and objectives, the organizational structure, because we have this authority and we have this power. It is controllable. As the this figure shows, that internal environment of an organization consists of various elements. Okay, these are the examples of various elements, or examples of the elements. And again, we also have this external environment, and there are two elements here, like the micro and the macro environment. So these environmental factors are beyond the control of the business, but this still minimize the impact if the business had effective strategic plan. So in other words, the internal environment is controllable. Okay, and we have this external environment. It cannot be controlled or uncontrollable, but we can still control if we have this strategic plan. Okay, this is in the big picture, and this is in the small picture. Okay, so it is important that we need to study the internal and external environment. We can easily change this part. Okay, but we have this problem in changing the external environment. Okay, especially the macro and the macro environment. But if we have this strategic tool, we can easily, not easily, we can, make some changes on this part that can lead us into have this success in our business. So we discuss about the macro and micro environment factors. First, we need to discuss also about the micro environment factors. We have these suppliers, resellers, customers, and competitions. So we'll discuss these four. First, suppliers. The suppliers can control the success of the business when they hold power. So the supplier holds the power when they are not the only or the largest supplier of the goods in the market. Okay, one of the elements of microenvironment are the suppliers. Next, we have these resellers. So the market intermediaries, or they call it middlemen, or resellers, have a great contribution to the delivery of products to the ultimate consumers. For example, if the reseller has a reputable name, then this reputation can be leveraged in marketing the products. For example, we manufactured certain certain products, and if we have these good resellers, we can also be, affected positively if the resellers are good in marketing or selling products. Okay, because they will ask us, for example, if we are the manufacturer, to produce more products. Okay, next is the customers. The customers is an individual or business that purchases goods or services. We all know this one because this is a common terms. Customers are important because they drive revenues. So if the customers will not pay, will not buy, so we don't have any income or revenue. So without them, the business have nothing to offer. So most public-facing businesses compete with other companies to attract customers, either by aggressively advertising their products or by lowering prices to expand their customer bases. But that is one of the strategy of any business owners, that they lower their prices in order to attract more customers, and also by having some advertisement, as you can see in the television or in social media. For example, the rival between the Coca-Cola and Pepsi. Okay, you can see that there are some advertisement that can They called it this aggressively advertising their products, um, and also by lowering the prices to expand their customer bases. And number four, we have this competition. Those who sell the same or similar products, like for example the Coke and the Pepsi, and services as your organization is called competitors. You are um, you are selling the same products, okay, from the other company or other business, and that is called competitors. So the presence of one or more competitors can reduce the prices of goods and services as the companies attempt to gain a larger market share. So that is the advantage part of the customer. If there are many sellers, or selling products and services, if they are many, so the tendency that the one of them will lower the prices in order to attract customers. Okay, so that is the advantage if there are many business or companies selling the same products, because they will lower their prices in order to attract customers. That is the advantage part of the customers. Now we also have this macro environment factors. Again, the micro environment and the macro environment is part of the external environment. Okay, let's proceed to macro environment factors. We have political factors, economic factors, social factors, technological factors, environmental factors, and lastly, the legal factors. Now let's discuss first about the political factors. Okay. So it's really hard to control this part, the macro environment. We can easily control the internal environment because that is part of in our business. And it's really hard to control the external environment. We can control some things in the micro environment, but have we have this hard time to control in the macro environment factors. And these six are the examples of macro environmental factor. Number one is the political factors. These are about how and to what degree the government intervenes in the economy. It includes government policy, political stability or instability in overseas markets, and also the foreign trade policy. For example, the tax policy, also labor law, environmental law, and the trade restrictions. So we are affected by the policy of our government. Okay, for example, if we are selling soft drinks, okay, as you can, hear some news, they added more tax to the company who sells that contains lots of sugar. We call it as a sin tax. So there are some tax policy. So the business is affected. For example, the cigarettes, they increases also the tax for that. So it affects their business. Okay. So again, the business environment is affected or can be affected by the business. The second one is the economic factors. The economic factors have a significant impact on how an organization does business and also how it is profitable. So these factors include economic growth, interest rates, exchange rates, inflation, disposable income of consumers, and businesses. So our business can be affected by the economic factors also. For example, our nation, our country experience inflation in which the prices of the products becomes higher and higher. So our business also being affected on that. And also the interest rates, for example, and exchange rates, the currency of our nation or country versus the other currency of other country. So our business can also be affected on that. The third one is the social factors. These include the shared belief and attitude of the population. These factors are population's growth, for example, age distribution, health consciousness, career, attitude, so on and so forth. So it's in the area of social. For example, in the part of health consciousness, that is why some Companies, again, like Coca-Cola and Pepsi, for example, they have some modification with their products. For example, Coke Zero, meaning zero sugar. Okay, that is intended for the health person who have this health conscious. Okay, so as you can understand on that analogy, they have some changes. They are affected with these factors. Okay, they have some changes. They have some modification with their products. That is the important of being a manager, to study the internal and external environment. In order for them to they will change something on their business so that they will be successful on their business. The fourth one is the technological factors. Technological factors affects the management and the marketing in the three ways. First, the new ways of producing goods and services, new ways of distributing goods and services, and lastly, the new ways of communicating with target markets. So it is important that the business owner will also adapt the trends, especially in the technology. For example, in producing goods and services, it is more advantage if the business will use some technology in order to manufacture or create products. Because if we will use the machine, we will increase the consistency of the products. At the same time, the time itself. We can easily create more products if we will use the technology. The second one is the distributing of goods and services. If we will use some transportation, we can easily transport our products and services. If we can easily transport more products and services in a short period of time, we can gain more revenue. Okay. And the third one is the new ways of communicating with the target markets. That is why you can see in the social media, in Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and other social medias, they're using these platforms in order to market their products. Okay, by using the technology, they can easily have this success of their business. The fifth one is the environmental factors. These factors have become important due to the increasing scarcity of raw materials, pollution targets, doing business as an ethical and sustainable company. So we can, easily observe that the business also can be affected by the environmental factors. For example, the beach in the Boracay Island and in other places. So if the environment is affected, our business also become affected. That is why as we discussed in the previous semester about the macro perspective, that they have this CSR, corporate social responsibility, in which the employees, they have this collaboration, they have this, activity, for example, helping the environment by cleaning in the coastal areas and tree planting as well. As we have this experience in Baisu, also we have conducted the tree planting in, I think, in Tawit, okay, in Tambo. And number six is the legal factors. It includes health and safety, equal opportunities, advertising standards, consumer rights and laws, product labeling, and product safety. It is clear that the companies need to know what is and what is not legal in order to trade successfully. That is why it is also important as a manager that we need to know what is legal and what is illegal. Okay, so it affects our business. Okay, so we need to have this product safety, the consumer's rights and laws, the product labeling. There are proper ways in putting label in our products. There are legal ways in advertising our products. There is a certain standard that we need to follow. So we are affected by these legal factors also. So thank you for listening, and we are done with the lesson one about environmental in business environment. So we will have to reflect on this in the valuing part. You cannot get through a single day without having an impact on the world around you. What you do makes a difference, and you have to decide what kind of a difference you want to make. Thank you for listening, and I hope that you learned something on this online discussion. And don't forget to answer the evaluation quiz or the quiz via Google form, and also participate in our learning forum. Thank you. Bye bye.